ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Armchair Booking Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host. My name is Stupendous Steve Barber, and joining me, as always, is delicious Joellen Davis.
Hey, everybody.
That's right. It's going to be there forever. We started something. We're going to have T-shirts made now.
I know, right?
Yeah. But this week, we're just talking about. All of a sudden, the news was going. All of a sudden, it just kind of stopped. All the big news. And so then we got thinking, wait a minute, there's some few people returning because there was a group who returned to SmackDown last week on Friday, who we were literally talking about on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yep.
Hit Row.
Yep.
And, I've been texting. I was like, I'd love to see them come back because I said there was a lot of potential there. And then they were there for like 2 weeks, and all of a sudden,
Yeah.
they were one of the 100 some odd. No, actually, I think it was more than that, but the part of the 85 wrestlers released in 2021. And that's just in 2021. That's not include the ones in 2020 and the ones earlier this year.
Yeah.
But in fact, I think, were they earlier this year? Because it's like they were there and then all of a sudden they were gone. So it was hard to keep track of all of them. You know what it was this year? I see Isaiah Swerve Scott.
Yeah.
Oh, the same day they got rid of Drake Maverick. How you going to get rid of Drake Maverick?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody loved him. And they got rid of Keith Lee. That's just a crime right there.
Yeah.
And they got rid of Ember Moon. You know how I feel about that?
Yeah. That's okay, though, because Tony Khan was smart. And he was like,
yes, he was.
There you go.
That's where the talent was right there.
Yep.
But so we are going to talk about all the returns that have happened so far. It's returns that are rumored, which I'd like to see someone. And then some of these other people, I mean, I would like to see them return even if it's not to WWE. I'd like to see them go to like AEW or Ring of Honor or Impact somewhere because they're just too talented to not be somewhere. Then some other ones, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I haven't really heard of, but they may have been NXT, and then they were a cost-cutting measure.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, before we start, I want to go ahead and give our contact and listing info. If you would like to email us, it's armchairbookingpodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/armchairbookingpodcast. You can find us on Instagram also at armchairbookingpodcast. You can find us on Twitter at Booking Armchair. You can find us on TikTok at Armchair Booking Podcast. You can find us on YouTube on video. There are no other platforms that I know of unless somebody is third partying YouTube, which YouTube, I mean, they got everything on lockdown. So I highly doubt that's happening. But like I say, if you're watching us, you already know that. If you're watching on your friend's channel, well, go to your own channel and hit that like, share, and subscribe. Mm-hmm. Definitely. We are trying for subscribers because once we hit 100 subscribers, I can actually change the URL from random letters is what it looks like right now to actually Armchair Booking.
Okay.
Now, so we need 100 subscribers. Yeah, Wrestling with the Truth, they just hit that number, and I think that's absolutely awesome. They hit that number, so they're able to do that. Of course, my daughter, she was able to hit that like not long because with her channel.
Yeah.
So that's why she has her own channel. I'm like, all right, whatever. But you can find us on just about any kind of audio platform there is. If we're not there, let one of us know. We'll do what we can to get ourselves added. You can find our merch at tpublic.com/user/armchair-booking-podcast. They have a lot of stuff there, including phone cases. They have the smaller coffee mugs, the big travel mug they no longer sell, which I'm sad about. And also I'm sad because I can't find mine. It's lost somewhere in the house.
Your dog probably has it.
She did one day. She chewed up the top of it because
I know.
I mean, she was liking the coffee. So, but it was just a couple of days before we left to go to Florida. I wanted to have it in Florida with me.
Yeah,
and I couldn't. But in the meantime, you can get one of these shirts.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually 4 different designs right now. Shirts. I need to actually put the design. Hope she sent me the thing, so I need to put that on there. I need to put a reminder up. Well, hopefully I'll find some time here soon because I'm going to have some busy days, not work related necessarily, but a lot of busy days ahead of me with some other studying I'm doing for my other side hustle that I'm doing. but I'm going to be studying for that all weekend, actually in formal training for it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's actually Saturday, Sunday, and part of Monday.
Oh, wow.
So Monday I might not be able to record.
Okay.
Yeah, just go ahead.
Understandable. No problem.
Yep. Going ahead and give you the heads up right now. And I know the Monday after that I won't be able to record because that's the day Tawana's having her surgery.
Right.
You know, so the Thursdays should be good though.
Okay.
You know, so we always said as long as we get at least one episode a week.
Yep.
You know, so we don't want to disappoint our listeners, all two of them. I mean, but you can also find Dwaylen on Twitter at @fat_daddy73. That's him. And I do think it's kind of cool that now when people actually do tag us, when they tag Booking Armchair, they also tag you as well.
I've noticed that. Yeah, that is pretty cool.
Yep. So, and you can find my other podcast, the Cubicle Chat. Just go on any kind of platform. It's also there. That one's not on YouTube, but it is on all the audio platforms. So the Cubicle Chat podcast. That one, the Twitter is at @cubicle_chat, and Facebook, same thing. Just look for Cubicle Chat. And you can also find Dwaylen's other social media or other endeavors. Part of his, you know, like I said, we're growing a big empire here. Y'all just don't get it. I mean, you find him at Big and Fat, you know, on TikTok and YouTube. Did I get everything?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Like I said, Noah, he kind of challenged me to do it all in one breath. I don't think I can. I'm like, dude, I am all because he said I was like, so when he went and missed us, like I told him, I was like, all right, there, Ultimate Warrior, you'll see you I get blown up. So, but yeah, that was such a fun interview. I really wish you hadn't been sick that day. That was a good time. And Noah, he was disappointed you weren't able to go join. But we couldn't put it off because unfortunately not really unfortunately, but the timing of it was, you know, they're trying to get promos in for Summer Sizzler, which is happening this Saturday down in Covington.
Right. Yep.
That's right. The Fan Fest, it was such a great time last year. That's where I got that shirt right there. For those of you on audio, Dwaylen can see the shirt behind me that I got at last year's Summer Sizzler. I mean, that was such a fun time. Before the matches started, you know, they had I can't really call it a meet and greet, like, you know, like a traditional one where, you know, the wrestlers all sitting behind tables. I mean, this is where the wrestlers were coming out and
cool.
intermingling with the fan. Yeah, I mean,
that's even better.
Yep. They were giving the fans a chance to cut a promo on Adam Swayze, you know, to kind of almost like, it was almost like a rap battle. You know, they were cutting promos on him. But see, this was the night that Rex won the heavyweight title from Joshua. And then, of course, Adam Swayze had the golden ticket, and he cashed in. And he was trying to force Rex to lay down. Well, Rex laid down, but then immediately kicked out and then proceeded. I mean, the place just went nuts. I mean, but it was that night. So people were actually telling they were cutting promos on Swayze, but telling Rex, you need to drop him. You know, so I guess they listened.
I guess so.
Yeah, but definitely a fun time. If you can make it, definitely go. I mean, it was so much fun, and they put a lot of effort into. This is like their biggest show of the year. And last year, I mean, that was actually the first time I ever really talked to Big Mama, just have a casual conversation. You know, because she and Nikki Victor were actually in the main event that night because they had their cage match.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yep. But and that was, they had the one match. It was the 4-way, but it was the tri-state title and like the $5,000 that was all hanging up. DC got the $5,000, but he didn't get the belt, and that's when Sinclair got the belt.
Yeah.
And then Roger Ruffin pointed out to me later on, he's like, you remember when DC got that money? Remember he said it right there in the show? And I was like, he did go for the money first, didn't he? He's like, yep. He said, so it shouldn't have been a surprise whenever.
When he, shouldn't have been a surprise when he turned, because he went for the money.
Yes, he did. So they say MCE, money changes everything. No, so that was Sinclair Octavius Bentley who said that first. And we need to have him back on the show again. Straight up. But the night show, like I say, it's good bet the people returning, because I'm really hoping this because somebody is actually watching our show and made the suggestion to somebody. But we're talking about Hit Row returning. I was like, man, I was like, man, I'd love to see Hit Row return, and then they did, and I was like,
Yeah.
I'm hoping that they listen to the show.
Yeah. You got there was originally 4 members of Hit Row. They were on NXT. They were getting over big on NXT. It was Adonis, Top Dollar, B-Fab, and Isaiah Swerve Scott. Um, B-Fab signs long term, I think like a 5-year deal, and then the next week they release her.
Yeah.
And then right after, the 3 guys were there another week, maybe 2, and then they just released the whole group at once. I mean, they were getting over. They were already over on NXT. They were getting over on SmackDown. You had another legitimate team that could assemble multiple championships, and instead, Vince is just like, nah, we don't need them.
They reminded me, well, actually, it's something else reminded me of them, but it still kind of makes sense. Have you watched The Mandalorian or Boba Fett?
I've watched them both. Yep.
Okay. So you know how they have like they're not really street gangs, but they're kind of gangs within the cities. Yeah, the ones that they have like parts they attach to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what they kind of reminded me of. And I'm like, okay, this is going to be a good faction. And then their names, I think probably another reason I like them, because their names all sound like 80s hip hop names.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like, all right.
Top Dollar is, speaking of which, Top Dollar is, when he's not in WWE, he goes by AJ Francis, and he actually does rap some.
Okay.
He's done some rap stuff. I've seen some of his work on in the independents, and I mean, he's a big man with a lot of athleticism. So he's not just a big immobile body like Vince seems to like. He's because if you notice the difference between like Vince and Triple H will hire big dudes, but they've got to be able to move.
Whereas
Vince still had the the early 80s model where it's like you got the guy that's 6'8", 300 plus and never leaves his feet.
Right. I mean, like Omos.
Yeah.
Big dude.
Yeah.
And part of I can't really say it's his fault, because I mean he's so big. You can't really run the ropes.
No. I mean, he's 7'3", 400 pounds. And yeah, there's only, and this is nothing against him. I mean, but there's only so much you're going to get from a guy that big.
I mean, you could always they can make a different ring, for like him, Commander Aziz.
Yeah.
Some of the they can have like oh my God, who's the guy he's with Jinder Mahal? Shanky.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's another one. I mean, he's just a big behemoth of a dude who apparently likes dancing.
Yeah.
Those skits are fun. They've made Jinder Mahal, they kind of made him a face and kind of a comedic act. And honestly, I think he likes it, because remember the stuff he did with was it 3 Minute Warning?
No, 3-man band.
3-man band. There we go. I knew there was a 3 in there somewhere.
Yeah.
But there's a thing, and I want to say it might actually be a botch. Somebody screwed up something, but then they were playing into it, and he's like looking at the camera, going like, "How now, brown cow? How?" And then he looks like he threw an invisible fishing rod and just kind of fished his way out of it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, that dude's got a sense of humor.
Yeah.
I mean, it may not be Rusev level, because Rusev was hilarious.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Jinder Mahal, I mean, I can see him being kind of a level face, and who's also jacked to the gills. But Shanky's like dancing behind him. He's like, I mean, But, but yeah, but yeah, like you're saying, like the big men, Triple H, because Triple H grew up a wrestling fan. I think that's the difference between him and Vince. Vince didn't grow up a wrestling fan.
No, no, he didn't.
Um, and it wasn't until later on where he took his dad's product, and I think a lot of the reason why he made wrestling as big as what it was despite his dad.
Hmm.
And he did. I mean, he made this company. I mean, people say wrestling. What do they say? Oh, you mean like WWE?
Hmm.
Yeah, they don't say like AEW. They don't say like Impact. They all say like WWE because it's been around
Yep.
for so long. And but Vince came from a promotional businessman side,
Yeah. Yep.
whereas Triple H came from I'm a wrestling fan. I'm a fan first.
Right.
I'm going to put on something I would watch.
Exactly. Yep.
Even if I'm not necessarily a fan of the gimmick, I know the gimmick will work.
Yeah. That's why I think he's did wasted no time bringing back a lot of these people because he knew, he signed these people. He knew the
Mm-hmm.
talent that they had. And to see, I can't imagine him, what he was thinking when all these people were getting cut loose and he was, he's like, no, I know the talent that these people have. Because like you said, he brought back Hit Row. Of course, with SummerSlam, he brought back Dakota Kai.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure there's other people. Like it's heavily rumored that Bray Wyatt could be on his way back to WWE now that Triple H is in charge of creative. Karrion Kross is back.
Yes,
You
in a
know,
big
yeah,
in a big way too.
yeah, him and Scarlett. Yeah, he is positioned as the number 2 heel on SmackDown behind Roman. They were talking about USA Network is become pretty adamant about wanting a top championship on their show, especially since Roman is rarely on Monday Night Raw. So there's a right now nothing's confirmed, but there's a possibility that if Roman doesn't lose the title to Drew in Cardiff, then there's a possibility that Karrion Kross will be the one in line to challenge for at least one of Roman's championships. So, which I figured that unification thing, the only way the unification thing was ever going to work is if there had to be equal time on both shows, which they
Right.
haven't done.
Right. And that was even though you and I both were pretty big advocates about putting the belt on Roman rather than Brock.
Right.
And the reason we decided Roman instead of Brock because we're like, well, Brock will never appear anywhere. Well,
yeah.
Here's Roman.
And then they sign Roman, and then Roman resigns. He signs a new deal for lesser dates, which is completely understandable. I mean,
right.
But you can't have your champion working lesser dates.
Right. And of course, they delayed Roman's growth anyway because everybody in the world was saying, make him heel, turn him heel, because the people are booing him anyway.
Yeah. And Vince was so adamant about him being the face of the company. It's like you didn't realize he still could have been face of the company and be a heel.
Mm-hmm.
Roman's the face of the company now. He's still technically a heel. And it worked.
Yeah.
Like if you'd have got out of your own way, he could have been doing this 2 or 3 years earlier than it happened. And it only happened because when Roman was coming back after he took that time off, he took time off because when COVID was, really bad, he basically said the only way I'm coming back is if I can be heel. So they didn't have any choice. It's like we either get our top star back and let him do what he wants, or we tell him no, you're still going to be a face, and him just be like, well, then I'm not coming back.
I think Vince also forgets something, and it just now occurred to me. all the Anawai family, like every
Hmm.
single one of them, they always got over better as heels.
Hmm.
And part of it was, I mean, they're all just tough.
Yeah.
And
The only one that didn't get over as a heel was Rikishi. They
not
tried
not as Rikishi,
not as Rikishi, now
right?
as the head shrinkers
Yeah,
or the Samoan SWAT team. Yeah, he got over as a heel.
not the Sultan though.
No, not the
Yeah,
Sultan.
no,
No,
that one just sucked.
that was
I was
just
so
terrible.
it
On
was.
so many levels, that was terrible. But yeah, when he was in, he was in WCW. He was part of the Samoan SWAT team. They were over his heels.
Hmm.
They were when they came to WWE, they were the head shrinkers. Um, and they were over his heels. The only heel work that didn't work was when he was the driver for Triple H that ran over Austin.
I always that was such a weird.
Here's the problem with that, though. They were like, his rationale for doing that was, I did it for The Rock. I took out Austin so you could be the top guy. He was already the top guy. The top two guys
Yeah,
in the company were Austin and Rock. So you were about, you were several years too late trying to help him get to the
yeah.
top. He had already got there multiple times. But yeah,
Maybe,
everybody else worked better as a heel. I
yeah.
mean, Umaga. I mean, that's how The Rock rose to fame. Is like,
Hmm.
when he turned heel the first time, um, and then when he came back after some movies and he was Hollywood Rock, that stuff was just fantastic.
And yeah, so it would only make sense to make Roman a heel,
Yeah,
pretty early, and he still looks the same.
yeah.
I mean, because I mean, I'm not gay, but the dude's a stud.
Oh yeah.
I mean, straight up. You know, I'm not gonna let my wife hear that because she because my wife has she thinks Jason Momoa is hot, and if you look
Hmm.
at Roman Reigns, he looks a lot like Jason Momoa.
Yeah. Now my wife loves Roman Reigns, but is not a fan of Jason Momoa.
Really,
She does not think he's hot.
they're
She
like
is.
twin. They're like twin cousins.
She's like, I think she's the only woman I know that doesn't think he's hot. She's like,
Uh,
no, I'll take Roman any day.
but she thinks you're delicious, and that's what matters.
Exactly.
But for them to bring Karrion Cross back, I mean, and it may appear like they're pushing him kind of early for somebody who just came back. He was never supposed to have left.
No, and this was the push he should have. This was. I feel like this was the push that he should have gotten and would have gotten if he'd have been booked right on the main roster coming up, because it's like everything was working. Why would
Hmm.
you mess with that? And then you give him this. Another reason I'm glad Vince is gone, because Vince looked at everything like, how can we market toys to, you know, how can we sell more action figures? That's why he completely changed Karrion Cross's gimmick and put him in that ridiculous, you know, knockoff Ninja Turtles thing he had going on. It was all because he thought that look would sell more action figures.
And when Karrion Cross when he first came up, and they immediately had him jobbing to Jeff Hardy.
Yeah, in 2 minutes, and Jeff put his feet on the
Yeah,
ropes to do it.
and then that was a weird thing. And I really wasn't familiar with Karrion Cross, and I knew you were. So I remember
Hmm.
texting you going, "Okay, this Karrion Cross dude to come up. I mean, he has a good look, and I would assume they're bringing him up to the roster from NXT to do good things, but instead they're using him as a vehicle to turn Jeff Hardy heel."
Yeah, and then
Uh,
they never followed up on that.
no,
It
no,
was
they
like,
didn't.
okay, so Jeff cheats to beat the newcomer in 2 minutes. So you completely devalue the NXT title because he was still NXT champion. He
Oh,
wore
he
the belt.
was. That's right. I
Yeah,
forgot.
he wore the belt to the ring for his debut match on Raw. So you completely crap on the NXT championship and its champion. You, for no reason, you have Jeff cheat to win, which is not a Jeff Hardy MO unless he's a heel, which
Right.
he's never been a heel in WWE.
He hasn't. Oh, that's right. Matt
No,
was.
Matt was,
Matt's
but
was a heel.
Jeff's never been. He's always been the baby face. Jeff has only been a heel in TNA.
And he was a good heel. Of course, you know, you show up high as a kite.
Yeah.
Things like that are kind of
It
happen.
kind of happened, yeah.
Um,
But yeah, and Karrion Kross was booked like a monster on NXT, and then he gets to the main roster, and like everything that Triple H had worked to help build this guy up. And it's obvious that Triple H has watched Karrion Kross's stuff on the independents when he was Killer Kross. I'm sure he watched when Killer Kross was in Impact Wrestling, because he was the same when he came to NXT. The same as stuff I saw him on the independents, and when I watched him at Impact was what he was doing at NXT. That's what they should have brought to the main roster instead of stripping away everything that made him impressive.
And the funny thing is, have you listened to Arn Anderson, his podcast?
I have in the past, but I haven't lately.
Here the past few weeks, he's talking about when he and Tully went to the WWF back, in the late '80s.
Yeah,
and he said when they first got there, at their first match, they were in squash matches, but he said they were wrestling those matches like they did in WCW, where they would give the enhancement talent a little bit of offense, or give them a chance to
get some offense in.
Yeah, so they could kind of put the enhancement talent over a little bit. But he said, when he got backstage, Barry Darsow was waiting for him and said, "Come here." He's like, "You cannot do that here." He said, "You're supposed to go over there and get over. You're getting here." He said the fans should not believe that these new guys, they can get beat by enhancement talent, or enhancement talent has a chance at them. He said you have to go in there and you have to squash them. But that's, you're new coming in. Yeah, you should do that. And they used to be like that. Look at all the ones when they used to Undertaker when he first came in. First thing he did was he dropped Coco Ware on his neck.
Yeah, Braun Strowman, they had him, and that's how they built him up with squash matches. They did the same with Nia Jax.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand now. It's like WWE has gotten away from. It's like they don't understand what the purpose of the enhancement talent is anymore. Because you look at any other company, like AEW still uses enhancement talent from time to time, and it's like in some cases you've got to use. They could have easily put enhancement talent in there and had Karrion Kross destroy them for a few weeks, building him up into a program. Even if you wanted to have the program be him and Jeff Hardy, build it up instead of just jobbing him out in 2 minutes.
On SmackDown, SmackDown, when they were in Raleigh this past week, and they actually had a match. I'm going to have to go back and I think it was Hit Row. Yeah, it was. They had two local enhancement guys.
Yeah.
And I mean, I do realize, that's a lost art, having the true enhancement talent come in there. But you remember back in the day, we could name the enhancement talent guys too.
Oh yeah.
They were never supposed to win.
Yeah.
They were there just so the other guy could beat them up.
Yeah, they were there to make the other guy look good.
Yeah. They were the Carpenters, because
that is a talent within itself that I feel like people don't respect as much as they should, because it's like, without these guys making the bigger stars look better, how is it going to elevate these bigger stars up the card if you don't give them an avenue to show what they're able to do?
Exactly. I mean, they didn't make the matches 5-star matches.
No.
They were there just so the more over wrestler could show, okay, here are the moves I do. Here's my finishing move. Magnum TA, get in there, beat the guys in 9 seconds, every match.
Like, here's my greatest hits. It's like for a guy wrestling an enhancement talent, you give them the greatest hits. Then when you move up and you're facing somebody else on your level, that's when you bust out the other stuff.
Well, and not just they say, okay, here's the greatest hits, not all their greatest
Not all the
hits.
greatest hits. We're
Yeah.
going to give you we're going to give you maybe 3 or 4 of the greatest hits, but we've got so much more
We've
than
got so
that.
many
But
more,
yeah.
And like I said, Magnum, I mean, it was when he first came to Mid Atlantic, his first matches, I mean, he was going there and beating guys in 9 seconds. It was like you go in there, kick him, punch him, throw him in the ropes, belly to belly, done.
Yeah. Well, it's like the Road Warriors. They hit the
Mhm.
ring. One guy gets tossed over the top rope. The other guy's up on Animal's shoulders before he realizes what's going on. And then that dude's doing a complete flip because Hawks just took his head off with the clothesline.
Yeah.
And that was it. You got the greatest hit with
Yeah.
the Road Warriors. That's all
Exactly.
it took.
And now, well, hopefully not now, because Triple H is the one actually calling the shots now as far as like the in-ring stuff and who's getting pushes and things like that, because Triple H thinks like a wrestler, because Triple H was a wrestler, and he made it to the top.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, I mean, we've had some criticisms of him. I mean, I think they have been well earned as far as
I mean, there's hardly a wrestler that you can't have some sort of criticism for. I mean,
exactly.
Really, if your name's not Ricky Steamboat, then there's like Ricky Steamboat's about the only wrestler I can think of that I didn't really have any, criticisms about. He was just that much of a professional. But any wrestler, I mean, it's an ego-driven business. If you're not
it
in
is.
it,
I mean,
if you don't go in it thinking that I'm the best, then what's the point? Because if you don't think you're the best, no one else is going to.
that's what Dusty Rhodes actually apparently he asked some guy, do you want to be, world champion one day? And the guy's like, whatever, didn't really matter to me. And Dusty asked, well, why are you in the business then?
Exactly.
Even if you don't make it, you should always strive for that.
Yeah, that's what Triple H said one time. He's like, if you're not in this to be world champion and be the best professional wrestler you can be, then what's the point? And Jim Ross has said the same thing. He's like, yeah, money, everybody is here for the money. That's how you pay your bills and take care of your family. But if you're not in it to excel and be the best in your profession, then you need to do something else.
I literally read a quote today from Vince Lombardi, and it was, let me see if I can find it again. Says, and he said, perfection is not attainable, but if we chase perfection, we can catch excellence.
Exactly. Yep.
And that's why they call the Super Bowl trophy the Lombardi Cup, or the Lombardi Trophy. So, and I knew you'd like Lombardi because, well, who was he most famous for coaching?
Packers.
It wasn't the last team he coached, though. But
no, not the last, but the best.
But still, I mean, but he also took, the team in Washington. We'll just call it that because they have a name change.
Yeah.
And I don't want to invite controversy on our show.
Right.
That's what we have controversy off the show. That's how we roll. But but he took that team and actually had them back in contendership. And then unfortunately he passed away in 1970 of cancer. So but yeah, Vince Lombardi, I mean, he took a Green Bay Packer team that was pretty horrible, actually.
Oh yeah, they were pretty terrible, and he turned that around. I mean, they won the first 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
But before the Super Bowl was a thing, the Packers were. I mean, they were rough. They were awful, and he turned that entire system around.
Oh, it was their attitudes. When he walked in like first day, and they had all these guys that were like in the sick bay, the football equivalent of that, and he's in there. He's finding out there. Basically, he considered them slackers when they were just being lazy.
Yeah.
And he's like, get out there. And then even one time when he saw a guy who was he was looking like he was out there playing with a broken foot, and he told him, that's not a weight bearing bone. You need to run. But yeah, Vince Lombardi, I mean, he said that, he said perfection is not attainable. If you strive for it, you will achieve excellence.
Yeah.
And that's the way everybody should think about it. If you're in a business like that, you're in some kind of performance art business, whether it's wrestling, wrestling is very unique because it is sports combined
Mhm.
with acting, combined with a lot of things, and that's why we like it so much,
Yeah. Yeah.
and people look down on us for it, but whatever,
Mm.
if they pay my bills, then they can decide if I can
Exactly.
like, so,
Yeah.
um, but you're going to have that ego. You're going to have at least to the point where it's confidence, because
Yeah.
if you don't, you're not going to do well in the ring. And by the way, you're going to get hurt. Even worse, you're going to hurt somebody else,
Yeah.
because I think the
And
wrestler will tell you they'd rather get hurt than hurt an opponent.
yeah. And it's like I feel like that's why things have already started getting better with Triple H at the helm, because you know he was a wrestler first, not a promoter. So
Right.
he understands all the aspects of the business, and I feel like Vince wanted to make as much money
Hmm.
as possible.
And he did.
And he did, but that was Vince's motivation. Triple H wants to put on the best product because
Hmm.
he understands that the better the product, the more money comes in,
Hmm.
because people are actually watching your product, and people are actually going to your shows and actually selling out you know your stadiums and arenas and wherever your performers are. That's how you do it. You make a good product. And I feel like bringing these people back is his way, because it's all people that had a solid fan base.
Hmm.
Especially the ones in NXT, and Dakota Kai has had a solid fan base since she wrestled in Japan, um, for stardom. She's been all over the world, and she's a fantastic wrestler. She can play face. Plays a fantastic heel. He brought her back. He's brought back Karrion Kross. You know, him and Scarlett. Great entrance, unique look. You know, he stands out amongst everybody. He's not just another. He's not just another big guy with tattoos. He stands out. He's you know intelligent when he speaks. He doesn't just come out and, as Arn Andrew would say, he didn't come out and scream and holler and spit flying out of his mouth
Yeah.
when he cuts a promo. He has something to say, and it draws you in when he speaks. As soon as he starts talking, it just like draws you in, and that's the art of the promo. And it sucks he wasn't able to bring back Keith Lee. Of course, Keith Lee's doing great things. Him
Yeah.
and Swerve are
Yeah.
doing great things. They're the AEW Tag Team Champions. Um, Keith Lee, that man is just that is just a charisma machine.
He is.
And it's like I've been a fan of Keith Lee since I first saw him in Ring of Honor. Him and why am I drawing a blank? Shane Taylor.
Okay.
They were called the Pretty Boy Killers, and they would go in and just maul people, but they are very athletic, and they had a series of matches with well, it's Viking Raiders now, but it was War Machine in Ring of Honor, and those matches were fantastic. Um, Keith Lee has been a former Pro Wrestling Guerrilla World Champion. Um, he might come back to WWE one day. Just depends on how things go with AEW. But I'm glad that you know I'm glad that these people that got released unceremoniously were able to go somewhere and be appreciated for the talent that they are. You've got Ember Moon, who's going by Athena now. She's um, feuding with Jade Cargill about the TBS championship. Um, Trying to think what else. The big elephant in the room still is MJF staying or going.
Right.
I mean, you know, if he's going, I mean, Triple H would push him. I mean, he would definitely push
I'm
him.
I'm pretty sure. I don't think.
He would not be able to he would not be able to cut the type of promos that he has been able to cut in AEW, though, and that's an advantage to not being a publicly traded company.
Hmm. Um, with MJF. I don't know if Vince would have used him correctly.
No, I don't think because I don't think Vince would have understood his appeal.
Right.
I don't think he would have. I think he would have changed everything that makes MJF great.
And one of the things also talking about promos, I'm reading or hearing or something is one of them because the news has been flying all around with all the recent changes in WWE. Because you realize, I mean, that was what was it a month ago now that Vince, or a little over a month
Yeah, it was a week before SummerSlam.
that Vince retired.
Yeah, Vince retired.
Yeah, and before that, it had been about 2-3 weeks when all the news started breaking.
Yeah, so you're
And
looking at like a month and a half basically of, because today's the 15th of August. So you've got probably close to like, well, we'll say a little over a month at least
yeah,
of, of a lot of changes internally within WWE.
and already I'm reading or hearing because, like I said, one of the outlets, whether
Yeah.
reading on here or hearing about, or watching rather, could be something like that on the one of the many wrestling YouTube channels. They're saying that they are starting to let them ad lib script their
Yes.
own promos.
Yeah. The promos are not so heavily scripted. They basically are getting, here's your bullet points, and then you fill in the rest. And you can tell because the promos have been a lot better the last several weeks. With guys other than like, Roman already had that, Roman doesn't count because Roman already had pretty much carte blanche with his promos. He was able to cut them his way.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure after the whole suffering succotash thing.
Oh yeah,
he just walked away and said, "Look, I ain't saying that anymore."
Yeah,
y'all
like
got me. Y'all got me laughed at. Yeah. Some woman just threw a shoe at me.
But I mean, you've got guys like Ciampa cutting promos that I always knew he was capable of cutting, but it's just now the old man's out of the way. And it's like, I feel like a lot of people, I feel like there was a huge sigh of relief. As much as you see on Twitter about how people are, some people in wrestling are like, oh, well, I don't know why people are happy that Vince is gone. And it's like, I do.
I know why.
Let me rattle them off for you. But I feel like there was probably a collective sigh of relief because Vince had like a almost tyrannical reign over WWE. I mean, he's telling his, your announcer's job is to get the story over that's happening in the ring, but you're telling them everything to say.
Right.
If that's the case, then why aren't you just sitting down there announcing and pushing whatever agenda it is you want to push?
And I remember when Vince was an announcer before, it was announced publicly that he was actually the owner of the company the entire time, even though I think most of us already figured it out.
Yeah.
Just from reading the magazines and, and knowing that his dad was the one who ran it before. Why wouldn't Vince run it now?
Yeah.
I know Jack Tunney didn't have that much power.
Nah.
But if they were to bring Vince back on the commentary team, I want to say he was voted like every year. They said he was like the worst announcer.
Oh yeah, he was terrible.
Yeah. Now look at that.
But the thing is, he never addressed the story that was being told in the ring. It's just he was out there marketing his product, and I get that. Yeah. But
the other guy would actually talk about the stuff, depending on who it was. But
that's what your promotional department is for, is to advertise your product. You're supposed to be telling the story that's in the ring because for the viewers at home. And he just never did that. And
I mean, you can tell us about your ice cream. Don't worry, I'll buy the ice cream bars.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'm pretty sure you bought them. I bought them.
Yeah.
They didn't taste any different, but it was WWF ice cream.
Yeah, but it had that WWF figure on it.
Yeah,
so.
It did. And then you ate it, and you're like, I don't have the figure anymore.
It's like,
So Vince should have stepped down a long time ago. If the scandals were going to happen, they were going to happen. Better they happen after. Well,
Mhm.
the stuff shouldn't have happened anyway.
Yeah.
But the scandal part of it, find out after he's gone, rather than, but now he's been forced, and that's on him. First of
Yeah.
all, for doing
Yeah.
what he was doing,
Yeah.
you know. The second one, thinking he wasn't going to get caught,
Yeah.
but and then John Laurinaitis, or as we like to refer to him on this show as
Clown shoes.
Clown Shoes. Yeah, I hope he gets back to him too.
Yeah. Yeah.
But hey, what are you guys calling me that for? Well, look at you.
I mean, yeah, just take a look in the mirror, buddy.
Yeah. And like, hey, John, you know how when you brought you came back and all of a sudden the women's matches were like 2 minutes long?
Yeah, because now look at WWE's women's wrestling.
It's
Now that night and day. That now that
Yeah.
John Laurinaitis is gone.
Well, on SummerSlam, 3 came back that night. Now, then,
Mhm.
granted, they lost one that night because Becky Lynch injured her
Yeah.
shoulder.
Yeah.
Now, so that's still a net gain of 2.
Yeah.
I
But,
mean,
and you put you put on they were given time to put on a quality match.
mhm.
It ended that story that started last year at SummerSlam. Everything's come full circle. Becky's back to being a face, which, Becky was the one who wanted to be a heel. She wanted to try something different. I'm all for that. You got to switch it up some. For some people can do the same thing their entire career and it never gets old. Some people need to switch it up, keep things fresh. But I'm personally glad that she's going back to the man persona because that's what got her to superstardom was that persona. But you look at they're having a legit, an actual tournament for the women's tag team titles. They're giving it time. Shayna Baszler is the number 1 contender for the SmackDown women's title. And my personal opinion, yes, Liv Morgan has, worked her butt off. She won Money in the Bank. She won the women's championship. But the money match is Shayna versus Ronda.
Yeah.
And Shayna gets her title shot in Cardiff, had Clash of the Castle. I think Shayna should win the SmackDown Women's title and then defend it at Extreme Rules in an Extreme Rules match with Ronda Rousey.
That could turn into a shoot fight real quick.
And here's the thing, not that Ronda should win, but 2 legit fighters.
That's what I'm saying.
2 legit fighters and a catch-as-catch-can professional wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
There's money. That's your money. That's your money feud in the women's division right now. Should be Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey.
If it wasn't for Roman and Drew, and also Bobby Lashley and whoever he faces, because I don't know if the match between him and AJ Styles, I would dare to say that match is going to be on last tonight.
It should be.
Should be. But if it wasn't for them just absolutely just tearing everything up right now, I could say Shayna and Ronda could be the money match, period.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, but right now it's hard to top Roman. In fact,
Yeah.
if it's Roman and Carrie, it's going to be hard to top that. I mean, it's just
they're thinking because Roman's not going to be at Extreme Rules. That's one of the events that he's not scheduled for. He's defending against Drew in Cardiff. Then he's not scheduled for Money in the Bank, which will be the October pay-per-view. And then the next one is Survivor Series, which he will be scheduled for. If he doesn't lose the title to Drew, then I think it'll be him and Karrion Kross at Survivor Series. If they don't do the stupid brand warfare thing.
Nobody cares about the brand warfare.
Nobody's cared about that. Here's the thing. It's like, you can't just pull this out of your hat and have the rosters hate each other for 1 month out of the year. just to do the brand warfare thing and then go back to how things were right after Survivor Series. It's like if you just want to have a competitive feud between the two brands, then just say that. But nobody cares about brand warfare. Just give us a good Survivor Series pay-per-view.
Granted, it did give us 2 of Brock's best matches, I think.
It did. It did give us
him and AJ, and then him and Daniel Bryan.
Yep. It also gave us Keith Lee versus Roman Reigns.
Yep. So they, oddly enough, under Vince, the Survivor Series actually did start getting better. Of course, also because they couldn't have got much worse.
Yeah, because
it had really, really slid down.
Yeah, but you got to look at like the 2010s. Just, I mean, there were some bright spots, but Survivor Series was just because Vince didn't care about Survivor Series anymore. He wanted to get rid of it.
It went away from the original concept, and not only that, but the original concept was, hey, we're going to put something on opposite Starrcade.
Yeah,
but one of the things, and I remember I texted you when she said it, when Liv Morgan looked at Shayna Baszler and said, "You look like a bootleg version of Ronda Rousey."
Yeah,
dude, I about fell. I saw that. So hard.
And another reason I think that they need to go ahead and pull the trigger on Shayna winning the title, the fans have turned on Liv
because of what they had her do.
Because of what they had her do at SummerSlam.
That was way her very first title defense.
Yeah.
And they had the controversy. It looks like she's tapping out.
Yeah. And the thing, you go back and watch the video, she tapped right before
the 3.
Yeah. Right before the 3.
Yeah.
And it's like you could have had her tap at the same time as the 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can build on that, but you've made your champion look weak by having her tap before the 3, but then you still get called the winner, even though everybody saw you tap out. They didn't do her any favors.
No, they didn't.
And right now, the fans have already turned on her. It's not going to, at this point, I don't feel like it's going to get any better. She can always come back to the title. They've proven that putting the title on her, the fans accepted it. You just booked her into a corner that she can't get out of now.
Exactly.
Because she's not, the problem is nobody's gonna believe she can stand toe to toe with Ronda Rousey. They're also not going to believe she can stand toe to toe with Shayna Baszler.
No, not at all. And then you got,
and that's nothing against Liv. It's just you have two legitimate professionals, two legitimate professional fighters in a scripted world.
That's what I'm saying. That match will turn into a shoot fight.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. It'll turn into a shoot. And yes, Ronda is an excellent fighter.
Mm-hmm. She was welterweight champion?
I think that was the bantamweight.
Bantamweight. Okay.
Yeah. But if you watch Ronda Rousey's fights, as long as she's on the ground, it's the same with Brock Lesnar. When he was in UFC, as long as Brock was on the ground, he was untouchable. But when Ronda stood up and tried to box somebody or tried to go, hand to hand, it didn't work. And Shayna's not only a excellent MMA fighter, she's an excellent professional wrestler who knows catch as catch can, submission holds. Shayna could stretch her. And yeah, I think it could go shoot. I mean, they're friends, and I'm sure I'm sure it won't be. I'm sure that is not the first time that they've shot on each other. I'm sure in training or whatever.
Right.
But that's your money match. That is, and that's another Triple H. That's another thing that has Triple H's fingerprints on it, having Shayna become the number one contender for the SmackDown Women's title.
Why would you not have somebody who is legitimately tough?
Your top stars in the women's division right now should be Bianca, which she is. She's a Raw Women's Champion. Becky's out injured, but definitely Becky. Ronda, I get. I'm not a particular big fan, but I get, she does bring legitimacy. She does bring the name recognition that they want. And Shayna Baszler,
Hmm.
honestly, Shayna Baszler is the most complete women's wrestler on that roster. And she doesn't need a lot of promo time. She does all of her work in the ring. She is smooth as silk. Everything looks deadly. But I've always read she's one of the safest people to be in the ring with. And yes, she did kick out Oscar's tooth, but that was an accident. Stuff happens, you
Hmm.
know. But yeah, but Triple H booked her as a killer. And there was something, and they're leading up to a feud with Ronda and Shayna, because Ronda even said something on SmackDown, like Ronda was attacking officials and stuff, and Shayna was like, it's not how you get it done. You get it done out there.
Hmm.
And Ronda looked at her and said, "You used to be a killer." And it's like, no, she's still a killer.
Hmm. Yeah, just like, yeah, I liked you better when you didn't have an opinion.
Yeah, it's
Yep,
like
things change. A
things
lot of things have
change.
changed.
Yeah. But I mean, Triple H booked her. She's the longest, actually the second longest reigning NXT Women's Champion ever. It's Asuka first, and then Shayna Baszler at like 400 and some days. And
And they brought her up to the main roster and have just left her upper mid card at best so
you
far.
you know why? Because Vince said he didn't understand her gimmick. I
I-
don't know. I don't know
there's
why.
no
Because
gimmick there. She's real.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
that's the gimmick.
But the thing is, don't you have a guy that is the exact same way?
That not only think about this. Okay, Brock Lesnar, born and
Hmm.
raised North Dakota, UFC.
Hmm.
Shayna Baszler, born and raised in North Dakota, UFC.
Yes.
Wow,
Yeah.
Vince.
And I'll say it. A lot of people have it. He only said that because she's a woman. If she'd have been a guy, he'd have pushed her to the moon. But Vince didn't. If you weren't coming out there half dressed, Vince didn't get your appeal. Vince didn't understand why people, uh, why certain, female fans had
Hey, boss.
had female wrestlers had fans if she wasn't coming out there uh half dressed, as a sex object.
And I went through all the WrestleMania matches, or all the WrestleMania cards, starting from the first one through 36, I believe.
Hmm.
And this was, I want to say it was not long before you came on as co-host,
Hmm.
because Kyle and I, we did a show, we were talking about women's wrestling.
Right.
And I went every single WrestleMania. The first one, there was a match. It was Wendy Richter, Lalani
Yes.
Kai.
Yes.
And it was actually one of the more sought after matches at the time. Uh, the next year, I think it was like maybe Moolah and Velvet McIntyre. Um,
Hmm.
and there were a handful here and there, and they had some where there were none, no matches at all. At WrestleMania 10, it was Medusa, Alundra Blaze. Sorry, I had to think about. Wait a minute, wrong company. I had to think about. It was Medusa Blaze. Here we go. And Lalani Kai once
Yeah.
again, and those though were legitimate matches. And then not long after that, they started evolving into, okay, well, we're going to have the bikini contest. Oh, we're going to do a bra and panties match. Oh, we're going to do a mud wrestling match. Oh, we're going to do this. Why? And at the time, why would any woman want to go to that company unless they? And it was all because of what's her face, Brock's
uh
wife, Sable.
oh, Sable. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Because Sable got over based solely on her looks. She was not a wrestler in the beginning. She never got any better than
She
what she
couldn't. She
was.
couldn't cut a promo.
She could not cut a promo. She was there as eye candy. That worked in the Attitude Era. You know, those of us that were huge fans in the Attitude Era, most of us are grown up,
Hmm.
and we expect a little more for our pro wrestling than you know half naked women running around.
Right.
Um, and it's like I don't understand that mentality when these are some of the best wrestlers in the world, yet you discount their talent, and it's like, oh well, if she doesn't look good for the crowd or whatever, then we don't care. That was a lot of Gail Kim's problem. That's why she left. She left the first time, um, went to TNA, got helped build that women's division from the ground up, and then she went back to WWE. I think she was hoping that things had gotten better, but they hadn't. And she left and said she never had any interest in working for WWE again.
Didn't she botch like a women's battle royal on purpose?
Oh
Was
yeah,
that
she
her?
just left. Yeah,
Yeah,
she just
just
slid under the.
just
She just
well,
she just slid under the bottom rope and walked to the back. She just eliminated herself, and then she packed her stuff and you know put in her notice and left. And because she was supposed to be eliminated like in like the first 30 seconds of the match, and it's like she was one of the only legitimate actual wrestlers in there. Everybody else was just John Laurinaitis hired fitness models who had no clue about wrestling. They were just
well,
came
that's
out dressed skimpy and played
like,
up to the crowd.
like I said, man. I got to repeat what Jim Cornette said. He said, "Yeah, running these lingerie models, they'd go hit the ropes and they pass out because they haven't eaten in 2 weeks."
Yep. Yep.
And John Laurinaitis, hey, boss, now look what I got. Look at those twins. I wonder if they got a mom. Anyway,
But
well, I wonder if that's going to last too much longer either.
oh no, I'm sure not with everything that's come out.
Oh, and by the way, if you want, speaking of Cornette, I meant to text you. I was going to send you the entire link for it, and but I didn't. But I can find it and send it to you anyway. On YouTube, of course, they play Cornette's podcast, except for it's just an audio form, but it is also on YouTube.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
I was thinking, oh, he's going to have a field day with this because of John Laurinaitis, and he did.
I need to
Because
check that out. I haven't listened to
yeah,
Cornette in a while, but
and well, the bad thing about I think actually the reason I didn't send the link, I still should have told you about it, but um, because it's advertised as that him going off about Laurinaitis, and it's like 16 minutes long. Oh,
mhm.
okay. Well, like the first 10 minutes is that, and then the rest of it is an advertisement for ExpressVPN, and then Cornette, it's almost like he's crapping all over it. I'm like, dude, they're gonna pull their sponsorship.
Yeah,
Seriously. Because some of the stuff he was saying about it, I mean, I'm pretty sure they're like, we don't want to be known as the ones that are hide your identity because you're looking at illegal stuff.
yeah,
But I mean, well, what he had to say about Laurinaitis, because Laurinaitis was the one who said, Jim, you can't do that. We're a publicly traded company. And now Laurinaitis is doing stuff even worse.
mhm,
Uh,
yeah,
but really back on the original topic, people coming back but I'm going to kind of merge it with Liv Morgan. I think turn Liv heel and bring her boyfriend back with his brother because her fiance. But yeah, she's dating Bo Dallas.
mhm, yep.
Bring back Bo Dallas along with Bray. Actually acknowledge that they are brothers.
Because that's the thing. Okay, you have the Wyatt family because Bray Wyatt has been heavily rumored as coming back. I really hope he does.
I hope it is too.
Extremely talented in the ring, great charisma, mic skills. I mean, top five in all of
You would have
wrestling.
thought the dude was crazy. He's in the ring, and like he's talking.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh,
but
that dude is
he was
crazy.
another one that as soon as he opened his mouth, he had the entire arena in his, in the palm of his hand.
As a
Oh,
heel.
yeah. As a heel, everybody was waiting. It's just the thing is, Vince booked him so poorly that he was over, but at the same time, nobody believed what he was saying because he would talk a big game and then they book him to lose.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, what sense does that make? You can't, it's like we want him to be the top heel as far as cutting promos, but then we're still going to have him lose to all of our favorite baby faces. And it's like, no, the dude should have came in and ran roughshod over everybody, him and the
Mm-hmm.
Wyatt family. Put Bo Dallas in the Wyatt family.
Mm-hmm.
Acknowledge on screen that they are brothers. What more do you need for family than his real life brother?
And did you watch the Raw where they had, it was a 6-man match? It was the Wyatt family against the B team and somebody else. I can't remember who the third person was in that
Was
one.
it the B team and the Miz?
It may have
Was it
been.
before they were technically the B team? They were the Miz Taraj. Was it?
Maybe
Was it
it
them?
could. Yeah. It. You know what? That sounds like it's. That's probably right. But everybody was just waiting for Bray Wyatt and Bo
Yes.
Dallas to be in the ring together. And when they finally did, it was there. Towards the end of the match, the crowd just went crazy, and
Yeah.
the announcers, they really didn't know what to do because they had never acknowledged that they were brothers, but the crowd knew.
Yeah. The crowd, and that's the
Yeah.
thing. Stop pretending that your audience doesn't know these things.
Yeah.
It's like, Vince always wanted to pretend like, oh, well, I brought in this wrestler and he's done, he wrestled on the independents before he got here. No, he wrestled all over the world in major companies, like AJ Styles. They wanted to pretend like, oh, well, he wrestled in Japan before he signed with WWE. No, he helped build TNA to what it
Mm-hmm.
became. He wrestled in Ring of Honor, wrestled in Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, wrestled in New Japan. I mean, it's like, stop insulting the people that make your money. Stop insulting their intelligence.
Exactly. And which is sounds exact. I was actually exactly like what Pro Wrestling Illustrated was saying back in 1985 about Vince McMahon in the
Mm-hmm.
WWF. Stop insulting the fans' intelligence because they know what's
Yeah,
up. And
because even back then, they would act like, you know, you can acknowledge another company. You can acknowledge, like, even back then, all they would say was that Ric Flair came from down south.
yeah,
They wouldn't say WCW, or they wouldn't say the NWA or anything. Just acknowledge that you have competition, because you do.
yep. Because
Competition just makes, Tony Khan has said this recently with Triple H in charge. He's like, Triple H being in charge is going to improve their product, which is going to make competition better
mm-hmm,
between two companies. He said, in the end, the fans will win because you're
mm-hmm,
getting quality wrestling
absolutely.
shows all around.
And I lost my train. Seriously, I lost. I lost my, oh, I was going to thinking when Vince looked at it like he had no competition,
Mm-hmm.
and therefore about 2 months. I mean, actually, he didn't. And those 2 months were 2001.
Yeah.
But he actually did not have any competition. And during that time, the product didn't suffer. They were in the middle of the invasion thing,
Yeah,
where
because
they started that. But
you had another influx of talent from, from WCW and things like that. But then they botched it too. All that was a vehicle for Vince to prove his superiority over WCW. And it's like, you did that when you bought the company for $4 million,
yeah,
which
and
sadly, Vince McMahon has spent more on non-disclosure than he
I never
did
thought about that.
buying WCW.
Wow, I
He
don't know if
spent
that
he has
says anything
spent
about.
$19.6 million on non-disclosure agreements. He spent $4 million to buy WCW.
And when he bought WCW, we had one of those people 20 years later on our show.
That's right. We had Buff.
We
Yep.
had Buff. That was cool stuff.
Yeah, it really was. I was still
But
sitting there like, oh my God, I can't believe we're talking to Buff right now.
I know we're like smiling the whole time.
Yeah.
But you know who else we've had on the show who we have not mentioned yet? Ted.
That's right. Yep.
We had Ted.
Yep.
By the way, his latest episode, he's talking about just heels in general.
Yeah.
It's just just him. And let me find the actual name of the episode because it's kind of self-explanatory when you see the title. But another good episode. I mean, and he's doing it. This is how talented Ted is. He was doing it while he was driving his big rig down the road.
Yep.
Monster Heels. Yeah, he was talking about Monster Heels. And just the depth of analysis that he goes into when he's talking about anything wrestling, I mean, it is amazing.
Yeah.
So definitely if you're not subscribed to him, go The Heel Truth. There's the real truth and there's the heel truth.
That's right.
Yeah. And then also go find the podcast, new one called Wrestling with the Truth.
Yep.
And we haven't talked about him a little bit, but TNC Sports Talk, he hasn't, if he is broadcasting, I found out that the games because I told you he was picked up by ESPN.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
Justin, right?
Yeah.
When he's broadcasting their games, he cannot put them on YouTube because of
Okay.
right
Copyright and things
Yep.
like that. Yeah.
But I have to mention Justin because I'm a little jealous of something he got to do the other day. Even if you're not a baseball fan, just going to watch a game at the Field of Dreams in Iowa.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
man. Yeah, because he was able to go to it. And I was like, dude.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So but yeah, definitely go. If you can find TNC Sports Talk, like I said, his schedule is a little off with that. I'm gonna have to text him again and ask him what the deal is because he did tell me that if he is broadcasting their games, he can't
Yeah.
have it on YouTube. But so he may just be so busy with that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But well, I think that is about it for
I think
now.
so. Yeah, for now, but I'm sure the next few weeks there'll be some returns. Dexter Loomis came back on Raw last week, so we'll see where they go with that. We could, we still got a little over an hour left of Raw, so never know who
Yeah.
might show up. And that's the good thing too, because it's giving that mystery again of who's going to show up this week. You kind of look forward to things like that. It gives you something to look forward to, for the first time in a long time on Raw.
Let's say a year ago this time it was who are they releasing this week?
Exactly. Yeah.
And I'm glad to see a lot of them come. I'm glad to see Hit Row come back. I'm thinking Hit Row may be fans of our show, because they heard us talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but for all those of you who are listening on something like Apple Podcast or Spotify, go give us a 5-star rating. In fact, on Apple, you can actually also give us a review. We'd love to, read the reviews that we're getting, but can't read them if we don't have them.
That's right.
That's the thing. But we do know we have an audience out there because I can actually go look at the stats, and I'm seeing people from Michigan. I'm seeing people from Kentucky, Ohio, North Carolina, Illinois. I see some from California.
Cool.
Some from Pennsylvania, and I'm also seeing some from England, from Scotland, from Ireland.
Man.
Yeah, so we're starting to get some international from Myanmar. I've only seen just one.
But
so that one may have been, I don't know, they may have accidentally clicked on it. But either way, I mean, what? Hopefully they heard something they liked and they come back.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely go tell your friends about us. And especially if you're watching on YouTube, tell your friends, go subscribe to us. When we get 100 subscribers, we get to actually make the name a real name.
Yep.
Instead of just random characters.
Yeah.
But I can't tell people that's the link.
Yeah, and it's like I feel like that people will be able to find it easier if if it's not just the random characters and we actually are able to put the podcast name on it.
Yeah, the last time I checked, we had 43 subscribers, which I am happy about. I'm very pleased with that. It's better than having 0 subscribers. But yeah, any kind of thing, just tell your friends about us, tell your family about us. If they like wrestling, definitely tell them about it. If they don't like wrestling, say, hey, I have a podcast, so you should listen to anyway, because we're still pretty entertaining anyway.
Absolutely.
So this is what we do. But and also in the meantime, this weekend, if you're in the Cincinnati area, go check out Summer Sizzler down in Covington, down at the Hits Baseball Complex in Covington. It's going to be a great time. You can listen to me talk to Noah Gabriel about it from last week's shows. I must say it's in the archives. It was just 2 episodes ago, but it's in the archives. Go still. We talk about all the matches except for one that was announced after the show. The very next day they announced a new match. So it was the 4-way match for the number one contender for the tri-state title.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean it is such a good time. Support your local indie wrestling.
Absolutely. Where do you think all these big stars started out?
Yep, it's very rare that you're going to find somebody in those rings. I could almost count on one hand, and probably still have fingers left over, who did not start somewhere in the indies.
Yeah.
I think it's Charlotte Flair, because she started NXT.
Charlotte, Roman,
The Miz,
Braun Strowman. Trying to think who else.
Yeah, I mean there's not many.
There's not many. No.
No, but we should be recording again on Thursday. We will probably not record next Monday or the Monday after that.
Right.
So sorry about that. Just things come up, unfortunately.
I mean, things come up, yeah.
Yeah. So but we should be back on Thursday, and I promise you we're gonna have more good stuff, hopefully with the news, and yeah, definitely send us your suggestions, give us a feedback, let us know how we're doing. We always appreciate it. Even if you don't like us, well, we're also, I want to say we're likable guys, but sometimes we're unlikable too. But that just happens.
It's just part of it, though. Yep.
Until we talk again, God bless.
All right. God bless.